Hey guys, I'm Steve from Backwoods Tough, and it's time to continue our chainsaw rescue. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get this cover off, because the cover pretty much hides or protects really every single thing that we need to work on inside here. So on your older saws, this covers were held down by actual straight screws. So what we can do is we can just grab our regular scrench, which has a flat-sided screwdriver on one side. It's got a socket that will fit your the bolts that hold your bar, so that way you can actually adjust your chain, and as well you're going to use your flat screwdriver to tighten or loosen your chain. And then it's got a spark plug wrench on the other end. So on the older saws, there's 3 screws that hold the cover on. And on your newer saws, you actually have these snap panels that make it even easier to get at the cover. And all you do is you simply take your flathead screwdriver, you put it in the top of the notch, and you just pop it out. And there's several of those, same thing. There's 3 of these on the newer covers. And once you do that, your cover will just pick right up. When you want to put your cover back on, simply put it in place and you just push this in. And it snaps right in, holds it on place. Works really well. So the first thing we need to do is get this cover off. All right, so just those 3 easy screws, and then your cover should just basically pop right off like that. And we'll probably take our Purple Power to this, spray it down, clean it up, make it all nice and neat and brand new again when we put it all back together, so that way everything is as good as it can be. So inside, under your cover, up front here, you have your muffler. This is your cylinder and head. You have your spark plug cap. Over on this side is your recoil. This is your air filter. Underneath your air filter is your carburetor. When you pull on your throttle, it actually works your carburetor mechanism under here, which opens it up and allows more fuel and more air in. As the more fuel and air go in, it causes your engine to rev up. Over here we have our chain brake. This is our bar handle. And the first thing we're going to do is we need to see if we're actually getting any spark in our spark plug. So to do that, we're going to simply pull off our spark plug cap. Now, one thing to note is inside your spark plug cap is a little round piece that snaps onto the top of your spark plug. So if for some reason, when you put that spark plug cap on, you don't feel it kind of pop on, what you can do is you can simply take a pair of needle nose pliers or anything like that, and you can simply just kind of squeeze the cap until it makes it nice and tight, so that when you push it on, you can tell that that piece of metal in there is making good contact with the tip of your spark plug. Another thing to consider is some spark plugs have a fixed tip on them, and other ones like this one, you can actually remove the end piece. So if this piece is loose and bouncing around, it's still probably going to spark okay, but it's better if this is tight. So when you put that on, put it on tight, and then just take a pair of needle nose pliers and just make sure that way it's tight enough that it won't come off by your fingers. Then you take your scrench, you're going to put it on your spark plug. To get something out, you're going to go in a counterclockwise motion. So I'm just simply going to pull down on this, which is the opposite way that a clock spins, and then we'll loosen it. It shouldn't be very hard to loosen up, and then it should just wind out with your fingers. Now, when you look at a spark plug, there's a lot you can learn from the tip of a spark plug. You want to make sure that it's not all, it can have like big chunks of buildup of carbon and stuff on your spark plug. That's not good. That's going to make it harder for your spark plug to fire or for the arc to jump across your electrodes. You don't want it to be like a white or a very, very light tan color, especially in a 2-stroke, because that would mean that your engine is actually running kind of lean. You want to make sure that you're getting enough oil in here to lubricate everything, because in a 2-stroke engine, the only lubrication you get for your crank comes from your fuel. There's no engine oil or anything in the bottom like a regular 4-stroke engine. So you want your spark plug tip to be kind of like a darker brown, like this is kind of black, but that's okay as long as you don't see any buildup on here. It means that your spark can jump okay and your engine should run pretty well. Biggest thing is don't let it be light colored, because that means you're running your engine lean and eventually you could get a seizure. There are a couple different kinds of seizures you can have in your engine. The first one is called a cold seizure. In a cold seizure, what happens is if you start your saw and you don't let it rev up at all and you just start going wide open right into wood, your cylinder and your piston have to heat up at the same time. Because what can happen is if your piston going up and down really fast gets too hot too quickly, as things get hot, they expand, right? So your piston, even though it might only be a couple of thousandths of an inch, it actually gets bigger. Well, if your cylinder and your piston get hot at the same time, they're both expanding at the same rate. But if you just go wide open right from the beginning, your piston can get hot quicker. It can expand so much that it gets so tight inside your cylinder that it just locks up. And what happens is after things cool back down, your piston will be able to go up and down again. But it's possible that because it got so hot and so big that when it actually seized in your cylinder, it could put scoring marks in your actual cylinder head. And what that does is it actually means when your ring goes up and down and scrapes the cylinder to create compression, that those lines in your cylinder are gonna let air by and your compression is not gonna be the same as it would if you had a nice smooth surface. So you wanna avoid a cold seizure as much as possible. When you start your saw, just let it warm up a little bit. It doesn't take a lot, but you don't wanna have a cold seizure and cause yourself all kinds of time and energy and money to go get a new cylinder, piston, rings. You don't wanna have that trouble. Another kind of seizure is like I was talking about with the spark plug. If you have a very light tip and your engine is running very lean, also in a two-stroke, because you don't have any base oil, all of your lubrication comes from your fuel. So as your piston is going up and down in your cylinder, the oil that's actually in your gas that you mix is lubricating your cylinder. So if your oil and your gas is too lean, and you can tell by your spark plug, that means that your cylinder is not getting the lubrication it needs. And as your piston is going up and down inside of your cylinder, it can also get really hot and be a hot seizure. And again, the same kind of thing. When it locks up, it can create all kinds of, it can basically destroy your cylinder in here, and you'll have to get a new cylinder, new piston, new rings, like basically a whole top end kit to get it going again. So you don't want to do that. So make sure that you're not running your gas too lean. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we have any spark in our spark plug. And to do that, the easiest way is without your spark plug in your engine, your chainsaw should pull over pretty easy because there's nothing stopping the compression as your piston comes up to the top of your head. So all we need to do is basically put our spark plug in our cap, and we're gonna turn it in such a way that we can see the gap in the spark plug. And we're gonna set it needs to be on something metal. It doesn't necessarily have to be the cylinder head if there's some easier thing for you to set it on, but usually your cylinder head is the easiest thing. You're just gonna set it on there, and then as you pull it over, you'll be able to see the spark in the electrode. And I can see that we're getting really good spark. Okay guys, here's a close-up. Hopefully this makes it easier for you to be able to see the spark. So another thing that we can check really easy while we're right here is our kill switch. So if I flip this over, now when I pull it over, I should get no spark. And I don't. So that means that our kill switch is actually working great. So that's awesome. That's one less thing that we have to mess with. Because it's possible that if we didn't have spark, right, then we'd have to start troubleshooting why do we not have spark. And one reason could be a faulty kill switch. It could be that no matter which position I have it in, it's making it so we're not getting any fire in our engine. All right, that's it for this video. We now know that our chainsaw's got spark. We know that our kill switch actually works correctly. That's some awesome progress. Now we just need to make sure that our saw is actually getting some fuel. We also need to check to make sure we got some good compression. So that's what we'll be doing in the next couple of videos. If you guys find these videos helpful, like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. And until next time, you guys have a great day.